blessed by each and every one of you since the moment I've gotten here. So much love and support. I just want to talk for just a minute about my call to ministry, the things that Pastor Scott mentioned, just how there are some road maps along the way, some things that come up on your journey that are like, oh, that's different, like, oh, that's weird, oh, that makes sense, okay, and they kind of have led me here today. So just real quick mention a few of those. First of all, my dad, he'll come up here in a little bit, he'll introduce himself. He's a pastor, and he's been a pastor for 35 some years, and so I grew up in a Christian home, and I grew up going to church, and it's a little bit of an interesting way to grow up. You hear a lot of stories, you see some good things about ministry, some great things, people going through hard things, and they come out just so much better with Jesus. And then also you see some bad things, some confrontation, and for me to be able to walk out of that childhood with an inkling to still go into the ministry is a pretty powerful call to me. I'm like, wow, I still want to do this, even though I've seen, how bad it can be. But how good it can be is enough. Is a powerful calling to me in my life. Another time was in college. I had been going through some rough things, and I was like struggling just as a human, just struggling with my identity and who I was. And a friend of mine just really took over. I mean, he just was such a solid friend from day one, and we just had so many conversations, just conversations about who I am, about what I can do, about my interactions with other people, and he just constantly expressed God's grace to me, God's love to me, and through that process, I learned a lot, and I learned what it would be like to do what he did to me to other people, right? To help people that are struggling through just different things of life. We all have our struggles. We all have these things that honestly we can't get over by ourselves. We need each other. So that was a powerful thing. He even said to me, pretty straightforward, he said, like, hey, you have a supernatural ability at this type of thing. These conversations, you're very good at these, and that's not a normal thing. And so almost in a prophetic way, right? A truth-saying type of way, like, hey, you should take a step into ministry because not everyone is called to this type of thing. And so I think that you should do that. So that was number two. And then the last one of my pastors when I was at college in Cedar Falls, his name's Chris, he had an amazing time with me. I'm sure it was more amazing for me than it was for him. I was in rough shape. He was trying to mold me into better shape, chipping away at the edges. There were a lot of them. But through the process, he actually walked me through from basically what it's like day one to be a pastor, and then what it would look like throughout a lifetime. And one thing he said to me is like, Travis, if you're gonna be a pastor, he's almost like prophetically speaking out to me. It was strange, it was surreal, and he's like, I believe that you will preach in a couple different venues. You'll preach to a small group, and I was currently in a small group, like leading a small group at that time. He said, then you'll preach to a little larger group, like a medium-sized group, and I was actually at Pine Lake camps at that time. I was a counselor, and I was giving a class throughout the summer, and I was preaching to about 20 to 40 kids at that time. And then soon after, I preached to a large group, something like this as well, and Pastor Chris was like, hey, once you preach to those three, you'll find that you will know you're called to this ministry thing, and so that's been something that I've looked back on daily, and something that I'll continue to look back on and say, like, no matter how hard this thing gets, no matter what happens in my own life, no matter what goes on, that God's called me to this, and that it's not something to take for granted, and it's not something to give up on. It's something to persevere through, and to do so, like my mom read, with boldness, right? Not with timidity, and to fan the flame that God's presented within me. And So that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm so thankful I get to do here with all of y'all. Your support, it's so appreciated. Thank you so much.